to be come next season. Today, as the festive dust settles, there'll be a feeling swirling around both camps that a performance is important. A positive result, though, far more so, as two of the Championship's leading lights face off for vital points and a psychological edge going into the new year. And so, to the team sheets and the news of the two 11s. Sheffield United have been without some key performers in recent weeks, but are boosted by the returns of some of their sideline players today. Vinny Souza is back fit and replaces Tom Davies in midfield. And Ryan Brewster, fresh from his recent morale-boosting goal against Millwall, comes in for Jezeren Raksaki. Anel Ahmedhodzic is back on the bench. Top scorer Tyrese Campbell misses a fourth straight game with a hamstring problem, but Kiefer Moore leads the line with 3 goals in 2 matches, including a brace last time out in his first start after injury against his former club, Cardiff City. And like the Blades, Burnley are struggling with a fair few injury issues of their own, although striker Lyle Foster is back on the bench today, having been sidelined since the October international break. The Clarets are unchanged from their latest success against Watford. Maxime Esteve is the only player to have started all 22 Burnley Championship games this season. Last time out, Jayden Anthony scored and set one up for top scorer Josh Brownhill. Zian Flemming leads the line, and former Sheffield United captain John Egan is amongst the substitutes. He was twice promoted to the Premier League with today's opponents. And so we're looking for those with that little bit of X factor who can make the difference today. And here are a couple that you have picked out from the offside.
Yeah, I think Gus Harmer has got the potential to be the best player in the Championship this season, and I think 10 goal involvements thus far shows you the impact that he's had since coming to Bramall Lane, playing this slightly unusual role tucked in off the left-hand side. What it does do, however, it shows that combination with Callum O'Hare, both ex-Coventry players, and they've got a really good relationship. And I think Zian Flemming this season been deployed ordinarily as a central striker, slightly deeper during his Millwall days. It means that the likes of Jayden Anthony have got to run beyond him, Brownhill, for it really to work. But I quite like a false 9. It just puts the central defenders in that little dangerous position. They don't know whether to go short with him, they don't know whether to leave him. So I think that he's a really talented player, and Burnley, in this style, are causing teams problems without that real out-and-out number 9.
And it will be really interesting to see whether he plays as a false 9 or a number 9 today, and we'll see that as it unfolds. We'll also, of course, be monitoring the progress of the players and the man in charge, who is Ollie Langford, this afternoon. So we're all set. Both bosses have been terrific this season with their respective sides. Both teams have been great to watch. And off we go. This could be one of the defining games in the race for the Premier League. Last season, indeed, it was a top-flight matchup. Both the battle at Bramall Lane and the tussle at Turf Moor belonged convincingly to Burnley, with the Clarets winning 5-0 at home in December and 4-1 here in April. Now, in the Championship, the points are up for grabs once again. And with two teams being so defensively strong this season, it'll be fascinating to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tight game. I think we can take that for granted, given the defensive records of both teams. I think last time out, loads to be encouraged about, especially Burnley. I think that's more of what the supporters anticipated in that victory at home against Watford, in all departments, really. I think it flattered the Hornets, and if they can marry, of course, this defensive stability with a little bit more going forward, then they're going to take some stopping. And I think, to a degree, they're saying the same things about Sheffield United week after week. Maybe Chris Wilder getting those players in their best positions.
And here is Flemming after a neat and tidy Burnley move. Hannibal looking to whiz it over, straight into the grateful grasp of Michael Cooper. Both these sides in such good form, of course. Burnley unbeaten in their last 9 games. Sheffield United in home terms have won their last 9 home league matches and haven't conceded a single goal in that run of 9 straight victories. The first battle in the air between CJ Egan-Riley and Kiefer Moore, and a painful landing for the Sheffield United man.
Should be full of confidence, Kiefer Moore, after such a brilliant brace at Cardiff, and presents the two arguably best defenders maybe central defenders so far this season with a different type of problem. Aerially, got pretty good control and movement for someone so tall, Kiefer Moore, but we know if the ball's wide that he's a real presence in the 18-yard box. And like I said, I mean, maybe slightly unlike him, certainly the first one at Cardiff the other day, but should be really flying.
Incredible story as well. He's played in the Premier League, the Championship, League One, the National League and the National League South, but when he was in the non-league, he worked as a lifeguard and a personal trainer while at Truro and Dorchester in the non-league. Quite the footballing story. He's back on his feet now. One of those who is being aimed at. Sidney Peck and Vinny Souza as well there. It's a Sheffield United ball. Josh Brownhill back in defensive mode there. One of those who we will see further forward for Burnley today because of the personnel in the middle of the park. Josh Cullen, Josh Laurent, as you pointed out, Sam, is 3 Joshes in the middle for Burnley today.
Yeah, but 3 very different players, so that balance definitely something that Scott Parker's enjoying.
Found its way through to Kiefer Moore, who couldn't quite keep it. Here's Gus Harmer. Moved on by Gilchrist. Popped in again by Harrison Burrows, such a key performer for Sheffield United this season, not just defensively, but the way he attacks. And with a couple of goals thrown in there as well. An added time winner against Bristol City could yet prove crucial in early November.
He's got terrific delivery, and that wasn't a bad ball at all that he put towards Kiefer Moore. And speaking, when we saw the team sheets, it's the only real width that Sheffield United are going with today. When you think of Brewster, O'Hare, Harmer, all want to be a little bit more central. So here's Burrows once more. He will.
It was a dangerous ball that was a real struggle for CJ Egan-Riley and Maxime Esteve to deal with.
He'll get chalk on his boots, and another fine delivery.
A player who was starring last season in the league below, of course. He was in the EFL League One Team of the Year. He was the Player of the Year at that level as well, and scored both goals in Peterborough's EFL Trophy final victory against Wycombe Wanderers. He's made the step up look very simple.
See the starting position of Jayden Anthony here, really deep on Burnley's right-hand side, purely because Burrows is going to be the outlet. I'd imagine a lot of the football is going to be played centrally today by both sides, if you factor in that Medjbury on the left-hand side for Burnley, essentially as a central midfield player as well. And I think him and Brownhill, you spoke of a few moments ago, yes, they're in the team for what they can do with the ball, Brownhill in particular, but without it, they give Scott Parker that defensive solidity throughout the team. Could be seen as slightly negative, but I think the results give you a fine idea of the picture. Since Scott Parker's gone in there, he's put them in a brilliant position for promotion.
Josh Cullen whipping into the challenge there, resulting in the Sheffield United free kick, and Cullen then stepping back to win it back. And looking for his goalkeeper, James Trafford, who makes his 50th Burnley appearance today. They were on a fine run of clean sheets, Burnley, as well, where had James Trafford kept a clean sheet against Middlesbrough recently for Scott Parker's side, he would have been the first Burnley goalkeeper to keep 6 league clean sheets in a row since the 1980s. Harmer trying to bend it through towards Ryan Brewster, and his position is going to be interesting as the game unfolds today, won't it, because of Sheffield United either having the ball or not having the ball, and where he ends up, where he starts. Yeah,
it looks like he started central actually as a number 10, so O'Hare and Harmer are going to be away from one another to a certain extent, and I'm sure Brewster will get alongside Kiefer Moore at times, but he'll have to show that game understanding, different skill set, playing off a central striker. Ryan Brewster will have to take it in tight spaces and try and get turned. But capable lad, and I really came into this season thinking that this could be him back to his best, given the platform. Not in the Premier League, granted, but big Championship club. A lot of criticism, I suppose, over the last few years, and expectation coming into this year. And I think the performances are getting better, and I think he's impacting things off the bench. It's just getting that run of goals, I'm sure, that he craves, and the supporters will be fully one round if he can do that.
We just saw Chris Wilder there, who said in the build-up to this game, to get to 50 points already at this stage of the season is incredible. Of course, Sheffield United are not quite at 50 points because they had 2 taken off them at the start of the season. So 48 is their current total as it stands, but you get his point. Had they not had the deduction, it would have been 50. We're basically, as I said earlier, at the full-time whistle today. It'll be halfway through the league season. And anyone who's knocking on the door of 100 points come the end of May is a Premier League club rather than staying down in the Championship. So they're on the right track. Indeed, the top 4 in the Championship have just stepped away from the others of late. Sheffield United top, Leeds 3 points back, Burnley a point behind Leeds, and Sunderland a point behind Burnley. The rest trying to catch those top 4 as it stands. But with so many games in a short space of time, the table can change very quickly if you're not careful, or if indeed you are very good.
I think looking at the fixtures, tough run for Sheffield United, that's for sure, over the festive period. West Bromwich Albion at home, always a difficult game. Then away to Sunderland, that's 3, with today thrown into the mix. Increasingly difficult games for them to try and navigate.
Harmer back to Robinson, who stepped into the side after the red card of Anel Ahmedhodzic against Coventry City and hasn't left since. This is his 7th start in a row. As we expected, plenty going on in the middle of the park. Down goes Peck, who's really stepped up in the absence of Ollie Arblaster. Souter. Vinicius Sousa, with Gilchrist hovering and O'Hare popping it off to Brewster. Robinson, and now Burrows. Peck for Harmer. Souter to his centre-back partner, Jack Robinson, and all the way back to Michael Cooper. 20 Sheffield United appearances, 14 clean sheets. That's just going to run away from Kiefer Moore. But you were talking really about the congested nature of the middle of the park today, and I guess that's underlining it, the fact that at times Michael Cooper's going to have to go long.
Yeah, and it's not a bad tactic. I mean, it's poor distribution there, but when you've got someone of Kiefer Moore's size, you'd be foolish not to try and hit him at times, especially when Burnley are so regimented and so difficult to play through. I think it's been a perfect encapsulation of what they're about for 10 minutes. You know, they're in their shape. You've got to be comfortable in your own skin to do that as well, and concentrated. And you can see the way that they're coached by Scott Parker. They look very, very comfortable, you know, without the ball and being basically a counter-attacking team on the road.
We have waxed lyrical about Sheffield United's defence, but it's important to underline that Burnley's defence, in terms of numbers, is better. Burnley have only conceded 9 goals in the Championship, Sheffield United 11. Little click of the heels there by Gus Harmer.
He's had plenty of the ball so far. Harmer goes very central. We just saw Jack Robinson actually joining in with Harrison Burrows on the left-hand side, so little patterns developing. I'm sure that's something that they work on, albeit Harmer is a little bit of a free spirit, and I think he seems to have found another manager. He had it with Mark Robbins at Coventry, but someone that just allows him to get on with it to a degree. And sometimes you have to have allowances, I think, for the Mavericks, for the flair players. He can be a little bit reckless without the ball, maybe. Sometimes he's going to find himself high on the left-hand side or in that number 10 position. One of those guys who wants to take everything, corner kicks, free kicks, but my goodness me, he's a talent. And I think if they are to go on and, you know, fulfil the ambition of the season and get promoted, he's going to be right up there in terms of the most valuable players that are playing their trade in the Championship this season.
Does have that ability sometimes to see the red mist descend. Indeed, only Ben Whiteman of Preston North End has been booked more times this season in the Championship than Gustavo Hamer. But quite the player, as you say.
It possibly wouldn't work in this Burnley setup. It's just about, you know, the manager's blueprint. But I think, yeah, Hamer, you have to afford a little bit of luxury. And he certainly has that in terms of his role in this side. There's a lot of flexibility to where he pops up.
Of course, there's a slightly different blueprint perhaps for Sheffield United in the coming months ahead. They're now under new ownership. New owners were waving to the crowd, walking around the pitch pre-match. For now, some defensive work to do as Mejbri knocks it back to Humphreys. Josh Cullen involved as well. Turned around the corner looking for Jayden Anthony.
An example of Burnley's kind of measured football there for the first time. Laurent's going to drop in between centre-halves, very deep. Cullen, we know, is a brilliant progressor of the ball, getting on it. 1 and 2 touch, and Brownhill will have the licence to drive forward and try and get into shooting positions and scoring positions, as he's done so well. So, yeah, same forenames, but very different type of players. And I think Scott Parker has kind of fallen on a nice dynamic in that midfield.
Ollie Langford just picking up on a little bit of petulance from Gustavo Hamer as the ball was thrown away. Just making the Sheffield United man aware that he won't have patience for that throughout the afternoon. Forward by Trafford, and the pass forward by Humphreys doesn't quite make it through to Hannibal Mejbri. Hamer, challenged by Connor Roberts, who has it now from Anthony. Sidipek wins it back. Hamer on towards Moore, but it was always going to squirm away from him.
You've got to move the ball quickly there when it turns over to not allow Burnley to get back into their shape, and they did exactly that initially. And I suppose the ball probably had to go to Moore's feet there from Hamer. Slightly heavy with his pass. Now he's getting that talking to.
Yes, Ollie Langford tried to do it from range a little while ago, but he's going closer up now to make sure that Gustavo Hamer is in no doubt. Fleming the target, and here is Anthony. Tried to helt it into the path of Mejbri. So far, not an awful lot to pick at in terms of opportunities. No shots on or off target from either side, and possession is pretty much 50-50. It's pretty much what we expected in terms of the midfield battle being key.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the managers are going to earn their money today in trying to affect things as the game goes on, by little permutations to their lineups and also what they've got in reserve. You think how long, I'm sure Scott Parker would take the point now saying this, but you know, he's got Foster in reserve today, who's been missing for a large portion of the season. He would immediately give them a different outlet, and you could probably drop Fleming in a little bit if he's chasing the game at any stage. So yeah, those two I think would have come into today knowing that it was going to be really tight and one goal could probably decide it.
Peck and Brownhill together. Hamer wins it off Anthony. Yeah, no Jeremy Sarmiento today for Burnley. You look through a few players who could have affected things if they'd been involved. No Tyrese Campbell for Sheffield United. He was on a fine run of 6 in 8 before he picked up his hamstring trouble.
It's a blow for them because you want, I suppose Brewster's there in reserve for Kiefer Moore, if you like, in that position today, given that he's out there and available. But I think you just need different strands to your bow, really, different strings to your bow, sorry. And I think in terms of Kiefer Moore, it makes you play one way sometimes and become a little bit more direct. So, yeah, it's a miss not having Campbell available.
And from Robinson. Brewster trying to prod it back into the mix. Harmer searching for Suter, who's stayed forward. Here he is again, helping it into the danger zone towards Kiefer Moore, and Maxime Estève was well aware of the big striker's presence.
Yeah, deals with it nice and comfortably. Excellent ball in. And as he has been all season, very commanding. Estève been superb and deals with that situation well.
A rare opportunity here for real attacking thrust in this opening 18 minutes. A few just being reminded of their responsibilities in the middle. Swirling into the middle it goes. It'll come in again.
Yeah, it's definitely an avenue they would have highlighted. I think 3 they've conceded, Burnley, from dead balls this season, which is not by any means a crisis, but when you consider how watertight they have been, I think still Sheffield United, with their power, they'll fancy themselves.
Trafford comes for it, gets something on it as far as Kiefer Moore. Helped back in by Harmer. Shouts of handball when it seemed to be headed away by Maxime Estève. And they go again, Sheffield United here. Harrison Burrows trying to dart through the gap, which was closed rather swiftly. Optimistic, this handball appeal?
Yeah, I think so. A couple of Burnley players involved. Trafford half cleared Burnley's lines, and Kiefer Moore probably looking to just set a teammate for the strike. But yeah, that was a decent little spell for Sheffield United in terms of the pressing there as well, keeping it alive in the final third. Burnley having difficulty building any sustained attacks, and that gets the crowd up.
Now, first real decision for Ollie Langford to make, and it's a yellow card. It was Josh Cullen who whipped the legs away.
Yeah, really good from Brewster. That's 2 occasions now he's taken it, exactly what we spoke of earlier, on his back foot. Good awareness of the space he's going to drive into, and Cullen, I think rightfully yellow carded that, because that was a good counter-attacking opportunity for the Blades.
He's closing in on 100 Burnley appearances. Today is number 99. And that's the first bit of paperwork of the afternoon. Burrows, super knock from Michael Cooper. Peck now. Knew he had Brownhill behind him. Run back by Moore, trying to turn in a very tight space. Burnley have got out here. Josh Laurent. Hannibal's after it. Anthony in the middle, Fleming as well, and Suter knew that. Just had to get something on it to steer it away.
Yeah, forced him into a stretch clearance. Probably the best Burnley have mustered as an attacking force. Played through that Sheffield United sea of bodies in the midfield. Rosebery unable to pick out a teammate. Anthony poised across the near post.
So we've seen Sheffield United try their luck from a set-piece situation such as this. Now it is Burnley's side. Will turn to have a go. Josh Brownhill and Cullen. And whizzed across. And Bashir Humphries was free, but it was just taken off his head.
Yeah, eyes would have lit up. He's moving away from the goal. Bashir Humphries, you see, he starts on the far post. Bit of a wrestling match, but gets himself into a great position in between Moore and Suter. It's a very valuable touch from the Sheffield United centre-half.
Jayden Anthony comes across. Scored last time out, of course, and the winner against Bristol City away in late November. And they've gone short and low, and it's Brownhill who hits it. And it hit a Burnley body on the way through.
Yeah, it may have been Connor Roberts who went to ground, but nice, inventive set play. Brownhill having a terrific goal-scoring season on his right foot. Equally adept, I would say, with either side. Looks like that's going to work its way onto the target without the aid of the deflection.
Yeah, 2 in 2 for Josh Brownhill. 8 for the season, and only 2 of those 8 coming from the penalty spot. Here's Hannibal. Once again, another move mopped up by Vinny Souza. Burrows. Scott Parker's still got it. Terrific player, of course, in his day. Scott Parker now moving into the world of management. And somebody who has a terrific record getting from the Championship to the Premier League, leading Fulham up in 2020 and Bournemouth in 2022. Here's Cullen. Anthony back for Roberts. Brownhill. Esteve. Hannibal on the stretch, couldn't direct it on for Bashir Humphries. Brewster. Couldn't find a way through, but Sheffield United have a throw now. Of course, they have the option to go short. They have the option to go long with Jack Robinson. Suter. Squeezes it through for Peck, who looks for O'Hare. Very nearly for Kiefer Moore. Evasive action taken by Burnley. And that'll go against the live wire midfielder. Formerly in Coventry City, of course, but very much making his name in red and white stripes now.
A lovely pass from Sidney Peck into O'Hare. You want to see him try and get central, where he can really affect things and make opportunities for teammates. Just gave it away there, but yeah, he's been on the periphery of the game, but that's been probably across the board for all Sheffield United's attacking players to this point of the proceedings.
The only Sheffield United player to start every Championship game this season, Callum O'Hare. Someone who is a bundle of energy and has come up with goals against West Brom in that 2-2 draw, and his first Blades goal in the 3-0 win against Oxford United. Here's Cullen. Sliding it through, dealt with though by Robinson. Anthony has it back now. Hannibal in the middle. Fleming just hanging back. Here's Esteve. Approaching the half-hour mark. Brownhill for Anthony. CJ Egan-Riley searching for the ball to Humphreys. Callum O'Hare it was, who wanted to get in between man and ball and win a free kick.
They wanted a corner. Bashir Humphreys be getting into the most advanced position that he has done in open play so far. Lovely crossfield ball. Egan-Riley, that is perfect from right to left. It's inconclusive. It did look like it came off the toe of the Burnley man.
Kiefer Moore's header. Gilchrist. Vinny Sousa. Confidently back to Michael Cooper. Cut out by Roberts. And then given straight away to Gustavo Harmer. Peck's ball not quite bending enough into the path of Gilchrist, but they still have it here. Sheffield United. Through towards Kiefer Moore. Harrison Burrows the furthest forward in red and white there.
Yeah, it's been a good tussle between Anthony and Burrows. Anthony won out last time and was able to get to the byline. But again, it's just half an hour of Burnley looking so well drilled, so well organised, and I'm sure Chris Wilder will want more from an attacking point of view, but would have predicted this being the pattern of the game. It's how bold he wants to be probably in the second half if they remain level for a large spell of this game.
Half an hour gone. Just one shot apiece. Neither side as yet finding the target.
A few occasions that kind of just wanting Sheffield United players to be a little bit more forthright, get turned, play forward. The safe pass has been taken on a few occasions and the impetus has gone out of any move. I think that's the key really. As soon as Burnley is slightly out of shape, you've got to go for the jugular.
It's interesting though, isn't it, that when you look at a game like this and you think, well, footballing bravery does come into it in terms of whether you want to really push on or not. But also it's about footballing intelligence, isn't it, sometimes, and maybe not risking it if the reward isn't quite there.
100% Burnley would have planned for this eventuality and later in the game the way that they could go about getting maximum points. And they know with the quality players they've got, they will get opportunities on the counter.
Sheffield United go searching through Jack Robinson, who didn't really get the purchase on that throw that he's capable of. So the reset button is hit.
Yeah, that's an asset for them, and the reason I referenced the set pieces earlier was that game here in the Championship a few years ago where Burnley were very different to the Burnley we're seeing now. They were seen as something of a soft touch, and Sheffield United ran out 5-2 winners and put the goalkeeper in particular under huge pressure from set pieces. And I think everyone thought that was going to be the Achilles heel of Burnley that season. And I thought the centre-halves stood up for Vincent Kompany and the whole team really and romped to promotion really. But with that relatively fresh in the minds of some of the Sheffield United players that remain, and of course the supporters, Just felt maybe they could get at Burnley that way, because clearly in open play it's a tough ask even getting a shot at the moment against the Clarets.
Well, it is sometimes funny to look back, isn't it? Because that was 5-2, as you say. Jack Robinson scored at both ends in that game. Anel Ahmedhodzic also on target for Sheffield United that day, as was Iliman Ndiaye, who's scored in the Premier League to frustrate Manchester City today. Ollie McBurney got a couple. Manuel Benson also scoring for Burnley that day. And John Egan, who is now at Burnley, was in the Sheffield United defence.
I wonder if we'll maybe see Ahmedhodzic at some point today, because not only is he a classy operator at the back, but he gives them a real goal threat as well. Remember a glut of goals he maybe got earlier on in his Sheffield United career, but yeah, a dead ball could very much win it today.
And goes Brewster. I think it's only one starter each from that 5-2 game. Jack Robinson for Sheffield United and Josh Cullen for Burnley. Otherwise, it's all change in the 11 since then. That was November of 2022. Forward up towards Connor Roberts. Harmer. Burrows tried to play it on. Josh Cullen it was with the late challenge on someone else in red and white. It was City Peck, wasn't it? It was caught. Cullen already on a yellow, of course, which raised the volume slightly here.
Yeah, not enough to warrant another caution. Had that been going in behind the fullback, maybe for a Sheffield United runner, and they were in trouble, then possibly could have seen an early red card in this game. But yeah, just a foul, as the referee just mouthed to some disgruntled Sheffield United players.
Certainly by no means a second yellow there, but it is something that Josh Cullen has to be careful of. Esteve in trouble here. It's a corner. Just got away from him and from Burnley and Bashir Humphreys.
Again, they've closed well on that right-hand side. Sheffield United, O'Hare, I think it was, on that occasion, really putting the pressure on Bashir Humphreys, hence the mistake. And in half of few chances so far, optimism around Bramall Lane that this could be the moment.
Harrison Burrows with that left foot to deliver. Trafford underneath it, managed to get something on it, but it wasn't convincing, as Ryan Brewster loses a boot. And Burnley reboot to attack with Jayden Anthony, who's caught by Gus Harmer. And that's a yellow card for him.
He may very well get a piece of the ball here. I think he goes in a little rash here, to be honest, especially given what's gone on in this first half in terms of the dialogue he's been having with the officials. Brownhill just poking it down the line to Anthony. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter that you get a little bit of the ball in this day and age. It's the aggression that he goes in with. Doesn't get a load of the player, but I can understand that being a yellow card, I'm afraid.
Kind of challenge which is fantastic if you get it right, but it's ill-advised in case it goes horribly wrong.
And also in front of the benches, which just raises that temperature. They'd have all been up there, the Burnley technical staff. That's maybe what some of the Sheffield United players are saying. Listen, it's not a terrible challenge by any stretch of the imagination, but you give, I think, the referee a little bit of a problem there.
Ollie Langford perhaps could have booked him for throwing the ball away earlier, although that would have been one of those moments that might have been seen to be a little bit picky. He gave him the warning, maybe had Harmer been on a yellow card, he wouldn't have made that challenge. We'll never know all of that, but it's just a little bit of a warning to both sides, isn't it? That this is a game that's potentially crucial in the campaign, and while you need to be committed, you also need to be sensible.
Yeah, that could be a defining factor. I think it's a sign of frustration, no doubt, because Harmer's not been able to get on the ball and do what he does so brilliantly. They're being frustrated by Burnley's setup and unable to make any chances of note. So I think he's probably just trying to get the crowd up as anything, and get the tempo of the game up and try and get them a little bit of rhythm.
Rhythm here provided by Gilchrist. Backed up by Peck. Vinny Souza with a 1-2 off Hannibal. And once again, it's one of those nearly moments with Callum O'Hare trying to dart in behind.
He's got good awareness, Sidney Peck, no doubt. Sees a pass, wants to play forward invariably, and that was the right ball, just a slightly too heavy one.
He's started the last 8 games in a row now, including today. Josh Laurent moving it on for Burnley here. In towards Fleming, and Anthony's there. Just couldn't wrap his boot around the ball to make anything happen. Cullen. Roberts. Anthony. Roberts once again. Michael Cooper will come for that.
The best opportunity probably was that ball in from Humphreys from the left-hand side, which was a good one. Maybe a fraction behind Anthony as he swung his left boot at it. I think Burrows as well, credit him for just probably getting a bit of physical contact. When they push the fullbacks forward, it's been problematic on occasion. Good ball in. And yeah, a little bit of contact there from Burrows probably does for Anthony.
There goes Harmer. As the personal duel with Jayden Anthony continues.
I bet it's a reoccurring theme that Chris Wilder or one of his staff have to take Gus Harmer to one side at half-time, probably just to diffuse his temperature that boils up, it would seem, on occasion. But, yeah, again, just a little bit of frustration probably in this half, but here's a chance for them to load the box once more.
He hasn't been sent off for a couple of years now, more than a couple of years. The last time was for Coventry City in September of 2022. He had picked up 3 red cards in English football, Gus Harmer, at that stage. In from Burrows. Moore with the flick on. Anthony relieved to clear. Up and under from Gilchrist. Now Peck. On for O'Hare. Last 5 minutes of a chess match of a first half. Still awaiting the first shot on target. We thought it might well be that whoever was more clinical on the day with the few chances they'd get would leave with the points, and it's proving that way, albeit so far no shots to take advantage of. Here's Brewster though, sliding it through for Burrows. Supported by Harmer. Trying to bend it in towards the run of O'Hare.
Yeah, just needs to be a little bit flatter there. Trajectory took it away from O'Hare, but a good spot from Harmer. Nice play from Brewster once more. He's had sporadic touches, in fairness, but what he has done has been neat and tidy. Slightly different role for him today, but when he's been able to get it into his feet, he's linked the play, not bad.
Roberts in for Cullen. Up towards Fleming, who's rarely touched the ball in this first half, really. The ball hasn't found its way up towards him. Now Callum O'Hare is offside and off target in any case, just when they thought they were in behind.
It's a lovely pick out. I think it's what we see from Sheffield United on occasion, just going a little bit longer with the range of passing that Harmer possesses. beautiful run because it comes from deep as well. It's not really tracked, and he's way onside there. I think you can see, oh no, actually delayed, and then when the ball goes, he's just gone a little too early. Had it gone a fraction earlier, then O'Hare would have been in for what surely would have been the most presentable opportunity so far.
Fleming moving it out neatly for Humphreys. Fleming wants it again in the middle. It's in towards him, and Brownhill's there! A priceless goal in the promotion race. Josh Brownhill strikes again for Burnley. And for all the Sheffield United possession, it is Burnley who grab the lead.
There's been a few warning signs. What a season he's having, Brownhill, and it's Fleming's best bit of involvement. Lovely crossfield ball. Look at the space that Humphreys finds himself in. Why Gilchrist doesn't get out there. He's concerned about Josh Laurent. I think he needs to go towards the ball and try and stop that cross. And when it comes in, it's a peach. Burnley got a man over, and it's the man they want. Josh Brownhill, enough contact on it. And finally, Michael Cooper is beaten here at Bramall Lane.
3 goals in 3 games for Burnley's top scorer, and they step forward just before half-time.
Yeah, I was just thinking as this half meandered towards the stalemate at half-time, Bashir Humphreys, Alfie Gilchrist, both products of Chelsea's academy. They'll know each other's games so well, and Humphreys afforded far too much space there. You can understand it to a degree, but I don't think Josh Laurent's position is that problematic. At that time in the attack, I think Gilchrist has to go out and try and deal with that a little bit better. He's just got free rein, really, Humphreys, to look up and pick out a teammate. Thankfully for him, it's the man in form.
And that is the first goal Sheffield United have conceded at home since the 2-2 draw against Queen's Park Rangers on the 17th of August. It's Boxing Day.
Yeah, it seems like we've been speaking a lot about Sheffield United maybe having one bad half of football, certainly at Bramall Lane this season, and it came in that fixture against QPR. Other than that, they've been completely faultless, so this is going to be a test for them now, especially given the way we've waxed lyrical about Burnley defensively in this first half. This is a problem, and again, Chris Wilder will be plotting with Alan Neil how they can, maybe not necessarily at half-time, but how can they affect things in an attacking sense just to free up their forward players.
And let's not forget, they've scored 20 goals in their last 11 games, Sheffield United. They're more than capable of stepping out and doing some damage. Kiefer Moore leading the charge here, but unable to get past Bashir Humphreys.
That's how you get the best out of him when he's on there as well. There's been very few balls going in that 18-yard box for him to go and attack. A couple of flick-ons, which he's competed well enough for, but with just Burrows supplying anything approaching width for Sheffield United, it's been problematic getting any crosses in.
Just 1 added minute at the end of this first half. His side have won the last 9 home league games without conceding. 5 1-0s, 3 2-0s and a 3-0. But now, if they are to get the points today, they're going to have to come from behind at home, which they haven't had to worry about for a fair while. Robinson searching for something just before the break. In from Burrows. O'Hare for Kiefer Moore, and it wouldn't sit for him. And then Gilchrist strikes, but the whistle is blown. And that is half-time. And at the break, it's Burnley who have their noses in front, thanks to their talisman this season, Josh Brownhill, skipper, top scorer, and man in the right place at the right time. Bashir Humphreys' searching cross, finished off by the Burnley skipper. And although Sheffield United have had plenty of the ball in the first half, neither side have really made themselves alert and alive in front of goal until that moment just before the break. And that splits the sides at the interval. Sheffield United 0, Burnley 1. Certainly those who have travelled will be smiling at half-time with the scoreline as it is. And albeit, you might look at that first half and say Sheffield United have had a lot of the ball and moved it forward and had a bit more territory, but ultimately they've not really hurt Burnley at all. And the only chance Burnley have had to really hurt Sheffield United, they've managed to tuck it away.
Yeah, there'd have been a lot of tactical instruction. Looks like they're going to make a change as well, Sheffield United, and that's not hugely surprising given that Burnley have got themselves in front and been in control of the fixture, and I think in essence we're probably really excited to get back out there because they know they've got it in their ranks to keep another clean sheet.
It's Tom Davies who's become an important figure in the last few games, having come back from injury. Scored the winner against Sunderland at the end of last month. And a player who will come on and add fresh legs, fresh impetus into the middle of the park. He's coming on for Vinny Souza of Sheffield United, so a straight swap in a positional sense. I wonder if that's due to anything that happened in the first half or the fact that the Sheffield United number 21 has been out for a while and therefore isn't able to continue as powerfully through the second half as he'd like to.
He's been at it as well, Davis, hasn't he? Been playing really well. Obviously a bit problematic getting him to play back-to-back games or 3 games in a week, so he's going to have to be managed, but comes on here with 45 minutes to try and add a little bit more invention to this Sheffield United attack.
Off we go for the second half. These two clubs have never faced off on Boxing Day before. They have lined up against each other twice on Christmas Day in Lancashire. On both occasions, hosts Burnley ran riot, winning by 4-1 back in 1893 and 6-0 in 1920. We didn't think we'd get that kind of game here today, and it has been proved that way. But Burnley edging ahead in that first half. Chris Wilder and Alan Nilwith thinking to do at the break, and a change with Tom Davies coming onto the field.
It'll be fascinating to see if there's any obvious changes to their setup in this second period. I think you need to get better supply to Kiefer Moore, that's for sure. I'd like to see O'Hare central maybe at some point this afternoon as well if they're chasing the game. Talking to you at half-time, Dave, Raksaki is a big miss today. Not entirely sure why he's absent, but obviously off the bench, I think in terms of someone with pace and directness in the wide position could be really impactful for Sheffield United in this position. I suppose Andre Brooks is an option, been played wide and central, so I'm sure he'll feature at some stage. But like often, I'm sure 10-15 minutes to see an improvement. If not, I'm sure Chris Wilder will make 1 or 2 more changes.
It's a really big point though, isn't it? In terms of impact players with experience, Sheffield United don't have an awful lot in that regard. Andre Brooks, 42 games for the club. Largely, of course, used off the bench. The 21-year-old Ryan One is another option, but he's only played 9 times for them. It's a ball in which caused a few issues there, but Tom Davies comes away with it. Burnley will look to the likes of Luca Koleosho. Quality from the bench, of course, albeit, again, not an experienced player as such, just 20 years of age. Jay Rodriguez, of course, has the numbers on his side in that regard, over 300 games for the Clarets. In from Brewster. Oh, the deflection could have taken that away from Esteve, who managed to stick out a leg. Brewster now, on for O'Hare. Away from Humphreys. Sliding it through for Harmer, who's looking for more. Thought about the swivel maybe, went for the back heel instead and secures a corner.
Terrific football. Didn't see a lot of this in the first half. Nice little exchange there. O'Hare and Harmer. That relationship that they've had over the years, very evident there. Nice pass, and Harmer just trying to play down the side of Egan Riley. Little deflection makes it difficult for Moore to get the strike away.
Corner is an interesting one. Kiefer Moore was there trying to keep it alive. There were shouts of shirt pulling, but nothing given by Ollie Langford.
It certainly looked like there was a little tug there. Not conclusive, really. A lot of players in the vicinity of where the ball lands. Just loading up the far post. Yeah, it's Brownhill on Moore, just latterly there. Little tug.
In from Harmer. Trafford came through the crowd. Harrison Burrows. Maxim Esteve it was who stood strong. Now the breakaway led by Hannibal. And Gilchrist is on duty. Ollie Langford making it clear he's playing an advantage here, deciding to let the game flow after the challenge on the Sheffield United fullback. Forward by Suter for Gilchrist, looking to release Callum O'Hare, tangling with Esteve, who then tangles with O'Hare. Majority inside Bramall Lane, I think, were interested in a potential handball in the first place.
Well, the second one's a foul, no doubt. He actually does really well, I thought, initially, Esteve, because he's beaten there. Just gets bumped off balance and then is away and he kind of falls on the ball. It's a clever little bit of defending, but then subsequently absolutely a foul.
He's been so good for Burnley since his arrival, initially on loan before making the move permanent. Still just 22. Taking his place in a relatively young Burnley squad. Gustavo Harmer, right into the crowd. Somehow it didn't get a telling touch. And it goes again, this time for Harry Suter. And James Trafford well placed.
And again, maybe the ball just slightly behind. Difficult to get loads of power on it as the bigger man in that kind of flurry of players. Harry Suter always going to be favourite to get something on the ball, but just couldn't get enough on it.
Well, you sort of flick through Sheffield United's results this season. They've scored first in 16 games this term. They haven't lost any of those. They've won 14 of the 16. Whereas they've conceded first in 5 games and only won once. That was in the late comeback at Bristol City. Both sides, as you'd expect, from being up at the top of the table. When they score early or score first, they tend to go on and claim all 3 points. Down goes O'Hare, on goes Moore. Connor Roberts, his Wales international teammate, blocking the strike. And now the breakaway, led by Anthony. Looking for Fleming, picked up by Hannibal, who's caught by Gilchrist. And a yellow card will come out for him.
Yeah, it's a much better game already. Sheffield United have started with more aggression. They're closing quicker. The crowd are up. I think they've started the second half well, but they very nearly get caught out with a good Burnley counter down the right-hand side. Hannibal really alert. It's a slightly loose clearance. Yeah, I think Suter's got to sort his feet out and do better there. He's actually withdrawing his left leg, isn't he, Gilchrist? Not sure that's a foul. Hannibal's cute, but alive to the situation and got on that second ball.
The home side were claiming a free kick at the other end, which has just raised the temperature a little bit now that one is given at this end.
Yeah, it was nice football as well. All of a sudden they're playing with more purpose, Sheffield United, more of a tempo. I think Davis is going to have that licence to get higher up. Didn't see that in the first half. Souza and Sidney Peck obviously a little bit deeper, trying to progress the ball with their passing. Davis is going to get forward and join in.
Callum O'Hare just trying to manoeuvre Hannibal out of the way of Michael Cooper's vision. Of course, Hannibal or any Burnley player is allowed to stand where they want to as long as they're not in the Sheffield United wall.
And this is a problem with Fleming standing over it in particular. Great quality in this right boot.
Fleming's free kick is poor. Oh, the second strike isn't, though. Helped by a deflection, and Burnley aren't worrying about that. The game really comes alive in the Clarets' favour. The perfect start to second half proceedings for Scott Parker's side. And Zian Fleming rattles one home that could be a huge goal in their season.
I would have had a slice of huge good fortune, but what a colossal goal this could be. The first attempt was really poor, straight into the Sheffield United wall. And the second one, coming off a Burnley player, possibly. Really fortuitous. No, it's off O'Hare, isn't it? No, Peck, as he comes to close it down, it goes spinning in the opposite direction into the roof of the net. And that's just all about Fleming. He's so forthright, just wants to get strikes away all the time, and he gets great power in it. But a great slice of luck to take that flying away from Cooper into the roof of the net.
Well, he scored an absolute stunner against Norwich City. He scored a well-placed header against Hull City. Goals have been few and far between for him in Burnley colours, and indeed towards the tail end of his Millwall career as well. But that goal could mean everything for the individual and the collective.
One of those players that just wants to get strikes off, never shy, so capable from distance. I mean, he's got some magnificent goals since he's been in this country, Fleming. That one, not the most beautiful, but again, it's just about him wanting to get shots away. Gets a load of good fortune, and nothing Cooper can do about it.
2 goals in 3 games for him now. Or if you go further back, it's 2 in 25 championship, or 3 in 25 championship appearances, I should say, for Millwall and Burnley combined. But now the onus very much on Sheffield United. The league leaders coming into today.
I don't think Chris Wilder could have asked much more than the tempo that they started the second half with, but it's becoming very problematic now.
Now it's a chance for Burnley to soak up any Sheffield United threat and hit on the break if possible, to really give themselves a tight grip on proceedings. Josh Laurent trying to make it his. It's Michael Cooper's ball now, and Sheffield United understandably in a rush. Brewster. The idea was right, but Kiefer Moore wanted it more into his stride.
Yeah, and you feel like if they get into a race, Egan Riley's always going to be favourite there, so surprised Brewster didn't just stride on a little bit with the ball and wait for maybe a better option. He had plenty of space to drive his team into. That point we were making a few minutes ago about the Sheffield United lack of maybe attacking experienced options on the bench. You look at the Burnley bench in terms of the bigger picture as well. This season in the Championship, so many players that have been there and done it. The likes of Worrell, Rodriguez, Foster, obviously a good option at centre forward, and of course John Egan, who's well versed in what it takes to have a Championship challenge. So yeah, I think they'll relish this type of situation. A lot of experienced, battle-hardened players out there.
Here's Tom Davis. Anthony back to help out defensively. It's Connor Roberts up and away. Still so much time left in this game for so much to change, and that will be being filtered through from the coaches on the sidelines to both teams. Harmer. It's gone for glory. Well, he is that kind of player, and so often those fly in.
Yeah, decent enough attempt. Doesn't quite catch it, but there's a nice gap there to the right of Trafford as we look. He's scrambling across, but probably always confident that's going to be miss.
Josh Laurent seemed to just get there ahead of Peck. Kiefer Moore now, with others there to help him, including Harmer. Sliding challenge by Harry Souttar, which has annoyed some of those in Claret's colours.
Yeah, just can't make that challenge. It's reckless. Not going to get away with it. It's aggressive. I think it's definitely a yellow card. He's just trying to keep that impetus going, trying to keep that tempo, which, despite being 2 goals behind, they've absolutely started this second half with. Fleming just turns it round the corner. Souttar going through him. Suspicions maybe of handball. I think that's what the supporters behind the goal were appealing for there, just as it got poked forward.
Well, this is where it's important that players try and think clearly, isn't it? Which is very easy to say with a microphone in hand up here. But 2 of Sheffield United's back 4 are now in the book. Gustavo Hamer as well. A red card would surely see the game race away in Burnley's favour. So feelings of frustration have to be modified a little bit. Here is Souttar trying to see it over the line. It's not going to go, though. Very nearly 2/3 of the game have passed.
And this would be an incredible recovery, despite Sheffield United coming into the game at the summit. This Burnley team, having conceded 9 goals this season, I don't think they've conceded multiple goals in any game other than the EFL Cup tie. So this is a hell of an ask if they can get back here, Sheffield United, and salvage something against a side that is so well coached defensively.
Maxim Estev looking to see that out. The only game this season in which Burnley have conceded more than once is in the EFL Cup tie away at Premier League Wolves. Goals have been few and far between in Burnley's games in general.
Yeah, and we're going to see a bit of this now, I'm sure, just running the clock down, much to the frustration of the natives. But if ever a team give you the sense that they've got the opposition exactly where they want them, this is the scenario. When you look at the results consistently through the season, having watched this today, they are incredibly concentrated. You're hoping, if you're a fan of Sheffield United, that there's a mistake in one of these Burnley defenders, but to this point they've been immaculate, you've got to say.
And here's Hamer, and Kiefer Moore on the run, and the flag is raised. James Trafford came to meet him in any case.
Yeah, it would have been interesting because he commits himself to the challenge, Trafford. He feels that was all above board. Certainly got a little bit at the centre forward, and you felt for a moment that was the opportunity for Sheffield United to get back in this game. Just a little slow to get back onside initially, Kiefer Moore. He does. And it's just a case of the pass probably not being released quick enough for his liking.
Out of play in Burnley's favour. Humphreys. Hannibal. Corner kick. I wonder if after the game Ian Fleming will suggest that his poor initial free kick was the perfect little 1-2 setup that he wanted for the strike.
Well, I gave him the big build-up as well. Very nearly let me down. Again, I think quite a lot of players probably just take that under their spell and look to recycle the ball, keep possession for the side. Not him. He just wants to get efforts away, flying towards opposition's goals. So you make your own luck sometimes.
Into the mix it goes once again. Kiefer Moore away initially. Jayden Anthony to reload here. Might hit one himself. Siddy Peck was in the way. Just took all the pace off it. Might have on another day wrong-footed Michael Cooper. Harmer down. We're all coming together, but they're up and on with it. But once again, the final ball has far too much on it.
Yeah, again, he's in such a pivotal position today, Brewster, but he's not known for, obviously, his eye for a pass or the way that he executes that approach play. He's the one normally receiving it around the box and getting strikes away, and there was another pass in that there, whether it was to O'Hare's feet or Harmer on the left-hand side. It's very unlikely you're going to get more in between centre-halves running beyond to get in on goal.
Brownhill, who got the scoring started. All the way back to James Trafford, who, much to the frustration of the locals here, has not really been worked. Not that Michael Cooper's had a difficult afternoon, but ultimately he has been beaten twice. The numbers tell you how patient the players and viewers have had to be.
Yeah, I've been in lots of dressing rooms where you've been victorious on the road in this type of performance, and I'm sure if it finishes like this and they can limit Sheffield United to very few chances, Scott Parker and his coaching staff will say this is exactly what we planned for. At the moment, it's the perfect away performance, and it's in keeping with a lot of what's come before, so it's not a fluke. It's the way that they prepare and the way the team are coached, especially out of possession. Of course, in an ideal world, you want a little bit more bang for your buck in terms of entertainment value, but if it naturally progresses as the season unfolds, they are going to be right up there with a great shout of getting their hands on the trophy, that's for sure.
And a really interesting promotion picture unfolding. Two, of course, automatically go up to the Premier League. If the season were to stop right now, it would be these two. But Leeds United and Sunderland will have a good say in proceedings, you'd think, and may well be a few others coming up from behind. We always talked about how important he was going to be today for Burnley. What have you made of what he's produced and where he's produced it?
Yeah, well, he obviously doesn't stay close to Fleming, pulls over to that right-hand side frequently, and what he gives you is brilliant decision-making with the football, but also when they lose the ball as well, he's going to tuck into little spaces, and he's got brilliant defensive now. So I think Scott Parker, for him, the way he historically has liked to set his team up, he is perfect. He's getting them goals, but also when the ball turns over, he's one of the most switched-on defensive players out there probably on display today. So he's a massive part of their early season success.
Here's Bashir Humphreys. Josh Laurent and Cullen. Humphreys again up against O'Hare, who had a tug of the arm. This is just another moment that winds the clock down and winds everyone of Sheffield United persuasion up.
It's interesting that the top three, as it is today, coming into the game, I think we've got very different sides. I think Burnley have clearly got this brilliant team ethic in terms of the structure. Leeds have got sensational individuals. I think Sheffield United probably have got both those characteristics. They've got a lot of good forward players. Sheffield United, just been Chris Wilder, how he's fitted them into his lineup. In essence, we're still seeing obviously Harmer to great success, in fairness at times, playing, you know, off the left-hand side but coming in field, and O'Hare, despite the minutes that he's played, still want a little bit more creativity and goal threat from him. So it's beautifully poised, and that's not even, you know, mentioning Sunderland have got brilliant individuals as well.
In from Anthony. More up than away by Suter. Cooper's punch gained Sheffield United some ground back. Away by Trafford. Josh Laurent's after this. Michael Cooper had to come right to the cusp of the penalty area to sort it out.
It would have been a hell of a touch, but it was a decent enough opportunity. Long busting run from Josh Laurent, and I would be not fascinated, but intrigued to know exactly, I suppose, what's going on the Sheffield United bench, because surely it's time now to just try and change the feeling of this game. It actually feels like they may extend their lead. Burnley currently, rather than Sheffield United, get one back, so I'm sure Chris Wilder is thinking about how he can affect things and get them moving a little bit in pursuit of this goal back.
There's been a little bit of movement in terms of substitutes warming up. Ryan O'Neill and Andre Brooks, two who are quite likely to be introduced. Anel Ahmedhodzic is just coming into view now. His name and number. Hasn't actually played since he was sent off a month ago in the 2-2 at Coventry City. Norman Bassett wound him up, he took the bait, and Jack Robinson's come in and been a mainstay since. Wonder if this is a move to three at the back or a straight swap. Hannibal skipping away from Suter. Fleming wants it in the middle. Final ball wasn't good. Of course, three at the back was a big thing under Chris Wilder in his first spell in charge. It's more of a four at the back these days. But at this stage of proceedings, needs must. Hannibal. Tucking it in for Laurent and then Fleming. A little under 20 minutes to play. Anthony stopped in his tracks, and now we'll have the change for the hosts, and it's Alfie Gilchrist who is removed.
Substitution for the Blues, coming off and to Alfie Gilchrist, coming on the 15, Anel Ahmedhodzic.
And his last season in the Championship, he scored 6 goals, which was the most by a defender in this particular division. He was in the Team of the Year. And Andre Brooks is also going to come on in place of Ryan Brewster.
Yeah, it's not really worked, has it? The Brewster more combination. I thought first half Brewster took up some good positions, and actually his touch was quite assured, but just not really been able to affect that Burnley back line, which is, of course, the most important thing, especially now when you're chasing a deficit.
Scott Parker happy with his personnel for the time being.
I think O'Hare's just shifted in and gone central, so maybe we'll see that link up slightly more evident between him and Harmer. Brooks on the right-hand side.
Suter's header, Robinson likewise. This is Davis trying to force his way through. One of those intelligent bits of midfield play from Josh Laurent, just getting himself between the man and the ball.
He's been terrific in this second half.
Humphreys against Ahmedhodzic. And now Brownhill skipping through. But unusual for him. No real authority with the finish.
Yeah, opens up the opportunity, the target, nicely. I'm sure he would have preferred to be going towards the far post there, having the angle to bend it, probably around a Sheffield United player. Large gap at the near post, hence why he goes in that direction, but I just didn't catch it on that occasion. Here's a back three, isn't it? I think Brooks on the right-hand side and Burrows on the left-hand side. Ahmedhodzic, right-sided centre-half. So, yeah, roll of the dice from Chris Wilder, only in terms of the personnel changes, but big formation shift as well.
Here's Brooks. Robinson. Burrows for Harmer. Fizzed in towards Moore, but too close to Trafford. Rather than trying to take the sting out of Sheffield United, looks for Hannibal on the counter. Away from Brooks. Davis blocking the ball through.
We'll probably see a bit more of what we grew accustomed to a few years ago. Sheffield United under Chris Wilder. Centre-halves joining in maybe with attacks. Robinson on that occasion stepping forward and getting involved in the attacking approach play. Big role for Sidney Peck. I think he looks just like he's going to anchor the midfield by himself, just sitting there when those centre-halves fly forward.
Robinson forward. Burrows saw the run of Harmer, but elects to go back to Robinson. Then Davis takes over. Managed to get through, but the free kick had already been given.
A lovely feat. Just not really been able to impact the game, Davis. No sooner was he into the game, Burnley had scored that second, and then they've just managed it in a remarkably controlled fashion. Sheffield United desperate to stand up, set up this grandstand finish, I'm sure.
Harrison Burrows looking to find a colleague in red and white here. And Davis is in there and just couldn't take it with him or dispatch the strike.
Strange. Not sure if he was just trying to set up the finish with his touch off his left foot, or if this is an attempt. Doesn't see it until late. Actually got a little nick, didn't it? Maybe off his teammate Robinson, who's up. Certainly looked to deviate somewhat and just couldn't sort his feet out.
They need a moment, Sheffield United, to get the locals to believe, perhaps. It's been the kind of game that has drifted a little from an attacking sense for both sides, albeit when Burnley's moments have come, they have grabbed them.
Yeah, we've seen it so many times. It only needs a moment, one bit of brilliance to get Sheffield United in a position where they could maybe salvage something, but it has been a very, very good away performance collectively. I think, probably almost perfect, how Scott Parker would have planned and dreamt it last night. They've carried it out to this point remarkably well.
Nicely done from Burrows. He looks for Harmer. 4 in the middle for him here. Kiefer Moore is there. James Trafford came to meet him. And Ahmedhodzic is wild in his strike.
Yeah, well, they needed their goalkeeper, James Trafford, for one of the first times maybe this afternoon, when he's really aggressive. Harmer, as you would expect, trying to engineer something. And he comes out, he's brave, and Ahmedhodzic is not the worst player for this to fall to with his capability in opposition's 18-yard boxes, but just cuts across it. Plenty of purchase, but way off target.
His last home goal for Sheffield United, incidentally, came a year ago today. It was in the 3-2 defeat against Luton Town. Scored in April in the 5-1 Premier League defeat at Newcastle United. Yet to find the back of the net this season. That would have been a very good time from the locals' point of view. Hannibal. This is Estev. And now Bashir Humphreys. Josh Laurent. Andre Brooks got in the way and managed to help it on its way. Hannibal. Trying to delay a little, trying to come up with something. And there was a shirt tug in there from Andre Brooks.
Yeah, some of it's not particularly eye-catching from Hannibal, but my goodness me, he's done a good job for his team today. In and out of possession. Again, like Brownhill, he's in that side for both characteristics, how, I suppose, concentrated and reliable he is in possession, but the work ethic without really fits in this Scott Parker team.
He recently played against the manager who gave him his senior debut. He was playing for Burnley against Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough. Played for Manchester United under Michael Carrick in the 2-1 Premier League win away at Wolves in May of 2021. In from Anthony, easy pickings for Cooper. Time of the essence now, we're in the final 10. Sheffield United preparing another couple of changes, their last 2 of the game. It's going to be the combination of Sam McCallum and Ryan One. Callum O'Hare to depart. Looks as if he is going to join Kiefer Moore as a 2. That would be the obvious shout from the signal he just made. McCallum for Burrows, just for renewed energy on that left-hand side.
Yeah, just a different look at it for the remaining 10 minutes or so. I think there's been a little bit of a lack of pace, athleticism maybe in this Sheffield United front line today. That absence of Raksaki, I think, has affected them somewhat, and probably an area they need to look at in January. Maybe get a little bit more speed in the wide positions. I think he could have come on and affected things, or certainly been someone they could have looked towards in the game if he was on from the off. So that's been felt a lot of it in the second half in front of Burnley. You know, into feet, quite intricate, not been able to get beyond their back line and stretch them.
McCallum's first involvement there is to concede a corner, which means Burnley can once again slow things down. Jayden Anthony with a corner, which Ollie Langford is just going to delay here because of a little bit of something going on in the middle. Sheffield United have made 5 changes now. Burnley haven't made a single one. In minute number 84. Corner comes in and the free kick is given, I think possibly against Hannibal there, although there were a few going at it in the middle.
Oh, he seems to be in the middle of it, doesn't it? Hannibal enjoys the physical side of it. And that's probably, awarded for that little bit of contact on One. Whipped into the vicinity of those 2 players.
Andre Brooks. Away by Humphreys. Josh Cullen had to step in. It struck Josh Laurent. Few starting to lose their feet out there now on a surface that's been well watered this afternoon by Mother Nature. Two head coaches, managers, if you will, who have earned their spurs in the promotion stakes in the past. It's not like this is a playoff match by any means. There's a lot of football still to come in the season, but it's one of those that you can hang a campaign on potentially. The Burnley changes are going to come shortly, and Lyle Foster and a familiar figure in Sheffield United circles, John Egan, will be introduced.
It'll be interesting to see how he can get Lyle Foster into this starting lineup. I'm sure it will happen on occasion, but today, not needed that out-and-out striker. So I'm sure Scott Parker will pick and choose the times when he deploys him with a more orthodox number 10 playing off him, but here we go.
Hannibal is one of those to leave the scene. Lyle Foster will be introduced, who hasn't played for Burnley since the 5th of October. And John Egan knows this stadium better than most, of course. Over 220 games for Sheffield United, 2 promotions to the Premier League. Lyle Foster has been out since picking up a knee injury on international duty for South Africa on October the 11th. He and his side have 4 minutes of the game to see out, plus whatever is added. Ahmed Hodzic. Brooks for McCallum. Back for Suter, who overcooked his touch and may well have got caught by Foster in the process of trying to retrieve it. Ollie Langford concerned for his welfare here. A player who went down and straight away stayed there and looked in some discomfort. You always look at someone who's gone down with a horrible injury in the past, a player who missed 12 months with an ACL injury when he was at Stoke. You just always hope that it's not happened again for someone like that.
Yeah, just losing his footing. Could be the hamstring, actually, couldn't it? Is he overstretched? Which obviously can be quite severe in terms of the amount of time you can miss. It's almost like a knowing look, wasn't it? Or knowing reaction rather than being in enormous amounts of discomfort. Looks like a muscle injury to me.
And that means Sheffield United will see this game out with 10 men, because all 5 changes have been made. This is not a concussion issue, clearly.
What a disappointing afternoon I mean, they've come up against the top side here in the Championship, no question, but they would have expected to create more, that's for sure, cause them one or two more problems, and to compound the misery, it looks like he's going to be missing his centre-half for certainly a few weeks, by the look of that.
Yeah, that does not look good for Harry Souttar. The only positive from a Sheffield United point of view is that Ahmedhodzic is back in proceedings now, having come on, having missed the fair few last games, but it's turning out to be a damaging day for Sheffield United in various forms. Not least trying to push on a man light here. Davis up towards Moore. Brownhill's touch, and he has it again, and that's beautifully done.
The reality is they can probably just write this one off and say, let's hope it's a one-off. We're not going to come up against teams with this quality too often.
Jadon Anthony bursting through, trying to finish the job. Michael Cooper stayed up as long as he could.
Oh, well, it's brilliant play, and that would have capped an excellent Burnley performance here. But Anthony under pressure. McCallum stays with him initially. The touch off the head's really good. Gets away from Ahmedhodzic and just can't get it towards the opposite corner. You'd expect that's where he'd go with his left-footed finish, but he's a little bit hurried to get it away. With Sheffield United defenders coming into view. And Cooper makes a relatively comfortable save.
Once again, Burnley mix up the corner routines. And it goes towards Foster, who keeps it alive. Oh, and over the top from Roberts. It had to be an instinctive hit. He just got right under it.
Yeah, it doesn't look at the target, just on the swivel. Hoping that the power's going to be enough to beat Michael Cooper, but can't keep it down. Keep it alive well. Substitute, that's probably the difference that he can make. Foster in the area. Roberts looking for, I'm sure, an unlikely goal on his swinger. Well over the top.
4 minutes to add on as a minimum. Foster buzzing around. Davis now. Brooks on to McCallum. Gus Harmer. This would mean that Burnley would have lost one of their last 48 championship, well, that's championship home games, that is. 147 that they've lost. They've been terrific there, but away from home, their form hasn't always been so good in the second tier, but this is unbeaten in 13 if it stays this way. And they've been very good at helping the clock tick down, helping keep the situation under control, helping to frustrate Sheffield United. It's a 10-game unbeaten run now. 7 wins and 3 draws if this one is seen out. Of course, their campaign started with goals galore in their opening 2 games, and everyone thought they would be a side that would score bundles all the time. It hasn't been that way since, but it's still got them into an extremely good position.
Yeah, this has been as impressive an away performance probably seen in the Championship. My point being a few moments ago is that Sheffield United aren't going to come up against this invariably, and there's not been a great deal wrong with their performance level, their results this season. I don't think people initially had Sheffield United probably in the conversation for automatic promotion, so they've had a terrific half to the season.
Kiefer Moore's hit, deflected away.
Burnley are going to do this time and time again. You can't not be impressed by the way they set up, the control, the experience is really evident to me. The way they've managed this second half, they've never looked in danger. Can Sheffield United get something here just to make it a tense last minute?
Trafford comes for it, gets a touch on it. City Peck's hit. It's the Burnley keeper's ball. It's going to be Burnley's day.
And they're protecting him incredibly well. Trafford, who's performing very well himself, and you think of the calibre of opponent over the last 3 games that Burnley have successfully navigated, and going to take 9 points from Norwich, Watford and now Sheffield United. That's some going, and they're probably just gathering momentum, confidence at exactly the right time.
Josh Laurent wanted a free kick. It's very much a Sheffield United goal kick, which ends up in the gloves of James Trafford. Having to go long now, having to throw everything they can at Burnley, but time is running out. Indeed, it's over. It's the kind of performance and result on which promotion pushes are built. There's something special about a Boxing Day win, especially in a championship clash of consequence. The Clarets prosper over the Blades, thanks to a first-half captain's goal from Josh Brownhill and a second-half deflected strike from Zian Fleming. The first goal Sheffield United have conceded here for some 4 months. These teams are scheduled to next meet in the Championship deep into April, with just 3 games to go. By then, the table will make fascinating reading, and both these teams should be there or thereabouts. But today is Burnley's day at Bramall Lane. It ends Sheffield United 0, Burnley 2.